Hello, guys, and welcome to another edition of Pink Sock Podcast. We're just going to jump right into it. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I'm drinking my coffee, so if I disappear, I have diarrhea. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm also drinking coffee, so I would probably disappear for the same reason.
Oh, so you're a coffee guy. I was about ready to ask you, coffee or tea guy, so we're on the same boat.
I like both, but I usually go coffee.
See, I'm trying to cut back on the coffee because the jitteriness and all that fun shit. I'm trying to get a green tea, but that's the thing. You can't. It's an addiction.
It is an addiction for sure.
It's kind of like these Netflix series that people always rave about. You're so damn addicted. Have you watched Dahmer yet?
No, I haven't, and I'm dying to because I am totally into the true crime stuff. Like those are the podcasts and stuff I listen to. So when I saw they were coming out with that, I was stoked. I know it's morbid, but I was stoked, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Have you?
No, I have not, but I tried watching the first episode last night and I passed out. The only time I can watch shit is at night.
Right. Right.
Like,
same. I know.
And I'm like, what the hell? So before we get into too much conversation, because that's what the show is, I don't know if Tom told you, but we're not really an interview, but we will talk about your music a little bit.
Perfect.
So you guys just recently announced that you're going to be releasing So Far So Good on October, 7th?
Correct. A week from today.
Oh, fucking awesome. You want to talk about the song a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we weren't really on a hiatus this year, but we were kind of doing like not doing a whole lot, and we released an acoustic EP over the course of this last year, trying to just, I don't know, kind of stay relevant, and while we were utilizing downtime, I guess. And we finally all decided, like, okay, 6 acoustic songs is plenty. It's probably time that we write and record another like heavy track that the fans are accustomed to. So we finally got our butts in gear and wrote the music to So Far So Good, and sent it to Dakota, who is our lyricist, our singer and our lyricist, and he liked it and wrote all the lyrics out. It came together very, I would say, very clunky. We're procrastinators. We're notorious procrastinators, and we knew that we had the studio time coming up, and about a week before the studio dates, we still didn't even really have the music, let alone lyrics to send to Dakota, or for lyrics to Dakota to write the lyrics for. So we got him the song, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days prior to our studio date. So he had to like hammer out lyrics really, really quickly. And luckily, you know, I think it turned out really cool. We're hoping that the reception's good on it. But it was kind of like a fly by the seat of your pants song. So, which is, you know, we've been doing it long enough. We should be better about that. We're not. So if you listen to most of our catalog, there's a good chance we wrote it at the like tail end of something.
Bro, don't feel bad because you said you're a procrastinator. I have a friend who was on the show a few times. He's in the band Stereotypes. They're a punk rock band. They actually took 40 years between their single and their debut album.
Okay, we're not that bad then.
So you guys are a lot better than that.
We're all right then. I feel better.
So I heard the song and I noticed it was a little heavier, but I also noticed that your acoustic album is volume 1. So are you guys releasing a volume 2, or are you working on a heavier album and then a volume 2?
Yeah, so I think the goal is to, as we release these like these radio singles or these hard tracks, that they'll typically be accompanied by an acoustic version of these songs. And when we have like the next 6, we'll throw those. It'll basically be like a compilation, but we'll essentially throw those next 6 on like a volume 2.
Okay, so you're going to release a new album and then an acoustic version of that album.
Right. So all the heavy stuff will come. Yeah.
Okay, I was curious as to what you guys were going with that, because I really do enjoy your acoustic work too, because like
you.
When I first heard of you guys, because Tom has been trying to set up an interview for a while, I just
Right.
between you guys getting sick, me, whatever, you guys pull off the acoustic sound really well, and a lot of heavier bands just can't do that. So I applaud you guys.
Well, yeah, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. We the thing with the acoustic stuff for us is we try to differentiate it a little bit so there's a reason to listen to the acoustic stuff. No disrespect to any bands, any hard rock bands that release acoustic songs, but one of my pet peeves is when like a heavy band releases an acoustic song and it sounds literally identical to the original version, right? It's just an acoustic guitar. I know people like that. Me personally, my thing is if you're gonna alter it and go acoustic, like really go out there with it, right? And so we tried to kind of stretch the boundaries on it. So like with our acoustic EP, we tried to have we have like live strings in it, some live piano. One of our songs is kind of like this bluegrass skiffle thing. I don't know. Maybe it was more for us. I don't know, but. We just try to we tried to go through the back catalog to be like, what do we think would sound cool acoustically, and if we do it, how do we like take it to the next level? And so that's what we did when we were trying to plan this thing.
To be honest with you, like there are a couple of your guys' songs that I prefer in acoustic because I just prefer the way it sounds, like the song Alice.
Mm-hmm.
I really prefer that as an acoustic, and I'm glad you guys did it. But like you said, there's been bands I've seen that do acoustic versions of songs, and the song already had an acoustic guitar in it.
True. Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what are you doing with this?
That's funny you say that, because one of the songs we had considered doing for this acoustic EP was Only Time Will Tell off of Hunter B. Hunted. And that's all very acoustic driven on the album. And we kind of ran into the same thing. So we were like, what's the difference? We might as well just put the original song back on the EP because it's all acoustic anyways, right?
Did you ever hear when Kiss did the acoustic version of God of Thunder?
No, I didn't.
They were doing the unplugged shit on MTV.
Uh-huh.
And Gene Simmons decided to go country with it. So he was like, God of Thunder and rock and roll. Like, it was awful. I don't.
No, I don't. I remember Kiss doing the MTV Unplugged for sure, but I do not remember that. Which is probably good. I don't remember that because the God of Thunder, the actual song, is one of my favorite Kiss songs. So had I heard that, it may have ruined it for me.
It would. Don't look it up, bro. So you guys are fans of Alice in Wonderland because you released the song Alice, correct? Or is it just your singer? Or?
It's actually, it's kind of a sad story. Not to bring the discussion down, but Dakota's sister, younger sister, got really, really sick a number of years ago, and she was in a children's hospital. And when Dakota was there, like in the visiting room waiting for her, they had Alice in Wonderland like wallpaper stuff all around. And so he started writing basically the song is about her being sick, but it metaphors all through Alice in Wonderland. And if you ask him, he'll tell you that Alice is the cancer that is wreaking havoc on everything in Wonderland, essentially, right? And so he had taken that metaphor and tied it into this song about his sister called Alice. So I don't know that he was necessarily a big Alice in Wonderland fan. It was just it was the surrounding, the scenery around him essentially that kind of gave him the idea to just kind of write that out. So
I hope she's doing better now.
She is
the most clever song idea I've ever, because I never caught that it could have been about something else.
Yeah, and he's he shares bits and pieces that, like, when we play it live, he'll typically give like a really, really condensed version of that. But it's not something that like we typically go out and talk about a lot because, I mean, honestly, what a sad story, right? So it's like, hey, let me tell you this really sad story at this rock concert. And then, hey, let's rock. And everybody's like, yeah, I think I'm just going to go sit down. You know what I mean?
I think I'm gonna cry in the mosh pit now.
Right. So yeah, no, and I bet if you were to ask Dakota, I'm sure he'll tell you it's still one of his favorites, obviously for personal reasons. No, his sister, this was years ago, his sister is doing much better, so all is well. But at the time,
if you guys ever want to watch an Alice in Wonderland movie, to change the subject a little bit to something more light, we on the show, we did react to this, but it's also a very creepy version of Alice in Wonderland. It came out in 1933.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, when prosthetics and stuff weren't that good. Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you want to see a little picture?
I do.
This is our promo photo.
Wild.
Yes.
The pictures are creepy.
It is nightmare fuel, and it didn't.
Holy smokes! I would totally check that out.
So I see that you went and saw Ron White recently, and I actually share that with you because I got to see Ron White twice, and the dude's hilarious. How was it?
So funny. So funny. The dude is so crude, and it's what makes him Ron White. I don't know. I was laughing hysterically.
Was that your first comedy show, or do you like go to comedy?
No, I love comedy. I'm a big comedy guy. Definitely not my first show. My first time seeing Ron White, though.
See, I'm a big comedy guy, too, because, like, my entire life I've been wanting to be a stand-up comedian, and I've thought about it. So if you guys ever need a amateur comedian opening for you,
no, we might. We're all a bunch of goofballs. Like, in fact, one of our first shows, in between sets, we're going to have an amateur comic come out in between sets. So I think we're on the same page there.
Dude, Ron White, though, when I saw him, fucking hilarious. It was during his, remember when he released that album, what was it? Strictly Unprofessional or something like that? A Little Unprofessional. I saw him on that tour. Wasn't the one you saw recently? Isn't that his final tour that he's on or something?
Yeah, he had made mention that he thought this was going to be it, which is although he's got an impressive career, he earned it.
So he's probably going to Motley Crue us.
He might. He did say he was going to be putting out another album at least. So.
Also, we have one more tour at least.
Right.
Because comedians don't just release albums with no tour to go with it.
You would think.
So how awesome was it, though? Because I'm so proud of you guys because I saw this announcement. I'm not sure if it's the So Far So Good song that's coming out that he's on or not, but you guys recently worked with Josie Scott.
Yes.
Saliva. How the hell did that happen?
Yes. Okay. So the song we are releasing next week is not the Josie Scott track.
Okay.
That being said, I hope people still like it and they check it out and they like it. No. So our manager is Paul Crosby, who is the founding drummer of Saliva. And we had been talking for a long time in the band about how cool it would be to do a collab with someone. And it never really pulled the trigger on it. And we were talking to Paul about it, and Paul was like, well, would you guys be interested in working with Josie? And we were like, yes. Holy cow, yes. And so, yeah, it was surreal. Like, so Dakota had actually written all the music and then written all the lyrics except for like the second verse that we left for Josie. Sent it to Josie's team. Josie liked it. Josie recorded, or he wrote his part to it. And then we flew him to our neck of the woods. And in like a span of, 6 hours, he got in the studio, recorded his parts, and we filmed the music video with him. And then he was on the flight out. So it was surreal. Growing up, I was a huge Saliva fan. And so it's wild to like fast forward all these years to then be on a track with Josie Scott. Like the dude is by far one of the most humble and nicest guys I've ever met in my life. So we were just super honored and privileged to be on this track with him, and we can't wait to release it. I don't know when that's happening. We got to work with his team on that too. But I am so excited to release it. So,
but you guys need to get a hold of them again because you have an acoustic version to do of that song.
That's true. That is true. That is true. That is valid.
Dude, that is so fucking awesome. Like, I was a Saliva fan growing up. Not like a huge fan, but I loved them. So, Josie, you're listening to this. Saliva needs to get back together and tour with Silent Theory because it's.
That'd be wild. That would be wild. We've played. It's interesting because we've played with Saliva a couple times. Ironically, Josie wasn't with the band, and neither was Paul, our manager. So Paul was the original drummer of Saliva, but both times we played with Saliva, he wasn't there. So,
is Saliva still around?
They are. So they just released a song called "Crows" that's all over Octane right now, which I think threw a lot of people off that they were like hearing new Saliva on Octane. But yeah, they are, and they're fun. They're fun to watch. They still put on a great show. But I hear you. I think a Josie Scott reunion with Saliva would be huge in the music world. I think that would.
Stranger things have happened, dude. Mudvayne just reunited, for God's sake.
I know.
That would never happen.
I know. I was a huge Mudvayne fan too. So
me too. I got to see him, and I was so fucking happy because I'm like, it's been fucking 15 years.
I know. I know, and those dudes can still rock out. They can still perform. They're still some of the most talented people. Like, I love Mudvayne. So, yeah,
dude,
I'm happy that they're up and moving.
We're best friends now. Like, we got to hang out. Like, that's gonna happen
for sure. Between comedy and the music scene, and we can complain about the acoustic version of God of Thunder. I haven't heard that. I'm gonna take your word on that,
dude. Like. Oh, Mudvayne has a new album, I guess they're working on too.
Really?
From what I've heard.
I hope so.
So what year is it though? Because Ozzy just released a new album. Mudvayne is back together. They're touring with Rob Zombie and Static X, by the way.
Yeah. Right. I think we're going into what, 2001, 2002?
Like I think we hit like a glitch in the Matrix and we went back in time.
I'm okay with it, though. I'm okay with it.
Dude, the only reunion we need now is Led Zeppelin. And then I think...
Oh, that'd be... Yes, 100%. That is one, though, that I would be beyond shocked if that happened. But you're right. Stranger things could happen.
I think Led Zeppelin's reunion is less likely than any other reunion because those two just can't stand each other at this point musically.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. Yeah, Stairway to Heaven is still my all-time favorite song. Like,
have you heard Robert Plant stuff with Alison Krauss?
Yeah, it's impressive.
Fucking when I heard Robert Plant bluegrass, I'm like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, like I don't just like sit and listen to it, but I'm impressed that he can cross genres like that so easy.
Well, that's kind of like Paul McCartney's the same way. Yeah. In his 70s, he didn't reunite, but he got with the surviving members of Nirvana and did a grunge song.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to think, okay, Kurt's dead, but what singer is the surviving members of Nirvana going to get together to release a new song? You wouldn't think Paul McCartney of the Beatles.
Right. Which tells you how big time Nirvana was. Like, that they just have that access to have Paul McCartney sing on the track with them.
Well, I saw an interview with Dave Grohl talk about how he became friends with Paul, and Paul invited him to a house party.
Yeah.
And Dave said it was unreal because Paul started playing on piano. And he's like, that song sounds familiar, Paul. And Paul's like, it should. And he's like, why? And he's like, I've got another confession. He did a fucking Foo Fighters song.
Could you imagine? Like, I would probably pass out.
That'd be like you going and hanging out with Josie Scott and he's singing a Silent Theory song.
I would probably pass out. Yeah, man. It's wild.
Like, that is insane. By the way, if you guys like the conversation we are currently having, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on the bottom. Go over to Facebook or YouTube, Instagram, They're everywhere. Silent Theory, and go give them a like. I always forget to say that during the show, and then nobody likes or subscribes.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem, brother. I get caught in conversation. Is there anything, though, before we get too deep into the world of serial killers and whatever else we talk about, that you would like to promote other than so far so good?
No, other than just, yeah, like you said, make sure you check us out on the socials, YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. We got a fair amount of videos. Yeah, you know, if you go to, we have a website, silenttheory.com, and on there, when we're normally touring, we'll have our tour dates. We have a merch store on there, so if you're interested in t-shirts, hats, mugs, you know, hard copy CDs, all that stuff. We do have a web store that you can purchase that. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a tour that you're working on right now, or are you just waiting for more music to come out?
Yeah, not at the moment. We had talked about trying to get a tour, do a mini run in November. The issue is, just to be very blunt, and we just really can't afford it right now. Like the diesel prices are so crazy high that I honestly don't know how like any of the bands that are touring right now are able to do it.
It doesn't help that we were also in a pandemic that kind of stopped people from making money.
Right.
So like, once you guys start doing shows, though, if you come towards either Pittsburgh, PA, or Columbus, Ohio, I'm in the middle of those two.
Perfect.
So.
Perfect. Yeah, we've never played Pittsburgh. We've toured the Midwest a ton. We've played Ohio a few times, but we've never gone further than that. So we've never played like Pittsburgh.
If you guys need like venues or whatever, I can send you like a list of them.
Perfect.
Because there's quite a few. There's actually one, I think they still do like shows. It's built in an old church.
Cool.
And it's fucking wild.
Yeah. I bet the acoustics are crazy.
Right? Well, I saw Guar there one time, and it was crazy.
That is wild.
It was wild because the first song they did, they brought out a preacher and stuck a crucifix in his ass.
Yeah,
like, wow. So what is your dream show? Like, what band do you want to open for? And it can't be Saliva.
Holy smokes. Good question. I mean, there's a ton of bands that I think we would enjoy touring with. Forever, we talked about trying to set up a Theory tour and tour with bands like Rev Theory and Theory of a Dead Man. We always thought that would be cool because we're fans of both. I don't know, dream show. Well, I'll tell you, my dream venue is Red Rocks in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely love to play Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado. Man, that is a good question. With who? I mean, well, you know what? If it's a dream one, I'm going to shoot for the moon. I would say somebody like Paul McCartney. He would never need an opening band, right? Because it's Paul McCartney. But I've seen that guy twice, and he is one of the most incredible performers I've ever seen ever. Even in his 70s into his like 80s now, the dude is unstoppable. So I would say Paul McCartney at Red Rocks.
That's like there's a lot of musicians though in their 70s now that can outperform anyone.
I outperform people like us. You know, Paul McCartney's playing 3 hours nonstop, and we're playing 45 minutes looking for oxygen masks. You know what I mean? Like,
that's like, I've seen Alice Cooper many times, and that dude is running all over the fucking place.
Phenomenal performer. Yeah.
Like, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, he is so fun to watch.
He opened for Motley Crue when I saw them, and he outperformed the Crue.
I thought so too. I saw them that same tour. We saw them in Portland, and I thought the same thing. I had seen Motley Crue a number of times, but that particular show, I was like, I thought Alice stole the show, like hands down.
Well, you heard what Alice wanted to do, right? And Crue turned it down.
What's that?
For the last show that Motley Crue did on their final tour, Alice wanted to come out with 4 guillotines and chop off the heads of all 4 members of Motley Crue. And
they didn't want to do it, huh?
They didn't want to do it.
Bummer.
I don't know if it was a management thing or what, but
who knows?
I'm like, what the fuck? So speaking of death, though, we talked about serial killers earlier.
Yeah.
We talked about Dahmer. Do you have a favorite? And for those that are listening, no, we don't think what they did was good. We think that they're the most interesting serial killer.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. The psychology behind that is what fascinates me.
Me too.
Not what they did, like, of course not what they did, but what absolutely fascinates me is like what drives a person or people to be able to do those sorts of things, right? I would say of all the stories, I would probably say Ted Bundy. And for a few reasons. One, he was brilliant, and so he was able to escape law quite a bit. He hopped out of a courthouse second-story window and ran off. He represented himself because he was a law student. So his story fascinates me, but probably for a more of a morbid reason. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and so did he. And so a lot of the places that things happened, of course, I'm very familiar with. So yeah, I'd probably say Ted Bundy. What about you?
Speaking of Bundy, they should do a Bundy TV series. Like when they announced Dahmer. What?
Did you see the movie with Zac Efron?
No, but I should.
It's phenomenal.
I really should.
I recommend it.
I think Bundy is more fascinating than Dahmer.
I do too.
Because Bundy, if you look into him, nobody believed he did it.
Right. That's what I mean. He stayed under the radar the whole time.
Like, even when he got arrested, people were like, oh, it's not him. He'll get out of it. And then when he admitted that he did it, people still didn't believe it.
I know it. Yeah. Yeah, he outsmarted the system for so long.
Now, to answer your question, though, my favorite, due to the mystery aspect, I'll have to go with Zodiac Killer.
Yes.
But did you ever look into the connection between Zodiac and Manson?
A little bit, but I didn't do a deep dive on it. Is there a correlation?
Yes. Let me give you goosebumps for a minute.
I'm ready.
Okay. I live in Ohio, so Charles Manson is from about an hour from where I live when he was born and raised and all that shit. I don't know if he was born here, but he was raised a little bit here. Then he moved to California. Now, you can do the dates. My dates might be a little bit off, but Charles Manson moved to California. I believe he moved to Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah.
1967. Now the Zodiac murders started in 1968. One of his first murders was in Nevada, which was only 3 hours from California. You can drive that. And then the rest was in Los Angeles, in San Francisco. I think it was San Francisco where he moved. Sorry, San Francisco. Charles Manson's murders, Tex Watson's murders that Manson took the blame for, I should say, all happened in San Francisco in 1968. Charles Manson and everyone was arrested in 1970. Manson family murder stopped, and so did the Zodiac murders.
Interesting.
All the Zodiac letters was in different handwriting. The phone calls was used during a voice box. There was more than one killer. Not all of them were probably arrested because the entire Manson family probably wasn't arrested. Some of them probably dipped out of town.
Interesting. That is a really interesting correlation. But you're right. Because the timelines all match up.
Yep, and it's in the same area.
Wow.
I believe that the Zodiac killings was a distraction for what was going on with the Manson family.
Interesting.
And then when they caught the Manson family, they just took the blame for certain ones.
Wow. I had heard that is interesting.
Because allegedly, somebody who had a jail cell with Manson said that Manson wasn't as crazy as he made himself out to be. He actually acted out that way, so he stayed in prison. He was an innocent man. He even said that in interviews. He's like, I didn't kill nobody. I didn't do nothing. He admitted to a crime, and when you admit to a crime, you have to serve the time whether or not they prove you innocent or not. So he just played crazy. He was a homeless guy that needed a place to stay. Yeah. Now, I could be mistaken, and if I'm ignorant, tell me, but like Manson didn't kill nobody.
I don't know. Well, I mean, those stories were fascinating too. Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Who knows, man? And he's now deceased, so I guess we really probably will never know.
Nope, he took it to the grave.
Yep.
And it was only recent, like when Manson was like towards the end, when people started making the correlation. So, speaking of, did you see the new Manson documentary?
No, what's it on?
Oh, I forget what it's on, but it's directed by Rob Zombie.
No, I haven't even heard of this.
It's actually a documentary. It flew under the radar for a lot of people, but it was the last conversation Charles Manson had in prison that was never really released.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this. I'll have to check it out.
And it's basically Rob Zombie giving an unbiased opinion on the man that is Charles Manson. And Rob's like, Manson didn't do it. And he's like, the thing is this whole docuseries shows like actual police documents and shit. And the Los Angeles or San Francisco, whatever police department that he was under, saw him as guilty before he even saw a court. He was guilty before court because of public. And that's why he got arrested.
Interesting. Well, there's so much media attention,
Yep.
surrounding that.
No,
I didn't even know that existed. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I think it's called The Last Conversation with Charles Manson, I think is the name of it. But I just want to be clear, because I know how people get upset and canceling happens. I'm not saying Manson's 100% innocent. I don't know. I wasn't there. But as the facts have come in, and as you watch documents and all that shit, make your own opinion.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that people didn't die in vain under the Manson name, but maybe we're blaming the wrong guy.
Who knows? I mean,
did you know he wrote music for the Beach Boys?
I know. How wild is that connection? He worked with Dennis Wilson for a while. I mean, it's just so crazy.
And he's not a bad songwriter. Guns N' Roses covered one of his songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe it was on the Spaghetti Incident. They did the song "Look at Your Game, Girl." That's a Manson song.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning all sorts of stuff. I didn't know that either.
Welcome to my mind. Like I said, I don't bring people on here to necessarily interview them. I bring them on to educate and get to know them.
I like it. I like it.
But like it's crazy, bro. That's all I do though, is I watch documentaries or whatever you call them, and it's crazy. Like Netflix is my friend. During the pandemic, I watched all of it, like all of Netflix. Do you like Stranger Things?
So I have not watched. I'm probably like the only person who has not watched Stranger Things.
Do you like sci-fi?
Like maybe, kind of. It's not something that I would go out of my way to watch unless, I don't know. I've heard a lot of really good things about Stranger Things, so I feel like I need to hop on.
It's nostalgic to the 80s. Now, I didn't live in the 80s, but it's very nostalgic to the 80s. It's a horror drama sci-fi TV series. Now, I'm not a big fan of sci-fi. I just happen to have all 3 of the original Star Wars on VHS in the unedited format. But I'm not a fan of sci-fi. No, but it's great. It's basically also set to the tone of Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. Interesting.
It's very interesting show. Even if you don't like sci-fi, I think you'd get a kick.
Well, yeah. I mean, like everybody I know has watched it, and they've all been like, "You need to watch it." So,
Robert Englund is in the last season.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Ironically, he plays a victim of a guy who kills people in dream sequences.
That is ironic. That is ironic.
That's very fucking ironic.
It's also comical.
It very much is. So you guys said you were working on more music, a new album, all that fun stuff. When are we going to get another more music? Like when are we going to get an album? Do you guys have any ideas of a deadline?
Really, no. We currently have 5 songs that are pretty much ready to go. Including So Far So Good. And so the plan is kind of to waterfall release those. We'll release So Far So Good next Friday, and then that'll probably take us to the end of the year because we'll be butting up with like the holidays. And the music industry just kind of shuts down at the end of November, all of December. So we'll release So Far So Good. We'll do our radio campaign for it, and then probably begin the new year right off the bat with the next single. And I don't know if that's going to be the one with Josie or one of the other tracks that we have recorded. And then we'll just kind of waterfall release those. But we have 5 that are ready to go. So, which is nice. Cause like I said, we procrastinate. So usually we're like, shit, we have a deadline and we don't have a song. So finally we're at a spot where we have some tunes.
You're going to be like, okay, we need to get in the studio and work on the new album. When's it supposed to come out? Tomorrow? Fuck.
That's us. That's us. A lot of late nights of us like, I don't know, it's going to have to do.
So you said the music industry cuts off in what, November?
Yeah, well.
And then Mariah Carey takes over.
That's right. That's nonstop.
She's the only musician, that and Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
That's true. That's fair.
They're the only 2 that's allowed to exist in November, I guess.
That's fair.
See, I'm not hating on Christmas music. I love TSO. I don't like Mariah Carey because she annoys the hell out of me because that's all I hear. But when Christmas time hits, I play heavy metal Christmas songs. Mm-hmm. I'm more of that guy. And I listen to all types of music. But I like the looks on people's faces when they hear Twisted Sister singing.
Yeah.
Or Ronnie James Dio. They're like, what the hell's this?
Yeah, it's funny. Our distro company not too long ago approached us and we're like, hey, would you be interested in doing a Christmas song? I was like, probably not. I don't know. I don't know that we could pull it off.
Bro, Rob Halford just released a Christmas album last year. I think you guys can pull it off.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got to pick the right song, though.
I think it's got to be Carol the Bells.
No.
You don't think so?
I saw Mommy kissing.
Dude, we would never recover from that. That would be career suicide.
You guys should do like a covers album eventually of covers that people wouldn't expect you guys to do.
We've talked about doing a cover for a long time. The problem is like the 5 of us cannot agree on what cover we want to do. We are all over the place on ideas, and not all 5 of us are ever on board. So we kind of just table it.
Okay, I'll help you guys out.
Forever.
I'll help you guys out. The first song when you guys release a new album after a long time needs to be Silent Theory's Back. Silent Theory's back. All right. I'm just kidding.
I feel like that they would sue us for that. if they heard it. I guess that's if they heard it, but
dude, we watched a movie recently because we have like a Reacts channel too. And the movie had Backstreet Boys in it, but you couldn't see them. It's called Zombievers.
Never heard of it.
The Backstreet Boys played a zombie fucking bear. Now, if I tell you to watch a movie and it's something with the title Zombievers, just pretend like you did. Because the movie isn't awful, but it's not a horror movie. There's also a movie that we watched called Evil Bong. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Nope.
Nightmare on Elm Street meets Cheech and Chong.
Okay.
It's about this killer bong, bro.
That's hilarious.
And Tommy Chong's in it.
Of course he is.
He plays the owner of the bong, and he's like, "Hey, man, me and my friends smoked out of this thing, and nobody survived." And they're like, "Wait, what?"
That's hilarious.
But yeah, that's just fucking crazy. So, what is your favorite things to watch there? You said you're not a sci-fi guy. So other than horror movies and shit, what you into?
Yeah, I'm a big documentary guy as well. Love documentaries, and like obviously I love true crime documentaries. So that's usually my go-to. Are the true crime documentaries. I love things like 2020 and Dateline, and I love all those. If I need something that's just kind of mindless, I'm a total fan of like the 90s sitcoms. So shows like The King of Queens is one of my favorite shows of all time, and I will proudly say that. So yeah, shows like that. I love Roseanne, the original Roseanne. I don't know. I don't know. I love those shows. New shows. I really do. I really just watch a lot of documentaries. I did just binge Ozark on Netflix, which was awesome.
So there's a website you can go on where you can actually watch TV from the 90s.
I need that.
I will send it to you once I find it
because I need that.
They even have commercials from the 90s.
I need it all. I need it all. As a 90s kid, I need it all. That's awesome. I didn't know that existed, but
you even get to pick the year.
I need you to send that to me ASAP.
So you said documentaries, and I don't have a true crime one right now that you probably haven't seen other than the Charles Manson one, but since you're a fan of comedy, I think you'd appreciate this. Ever watch the Netflix documentary Jim and Andy?
No, but I want to. I heard it's phenomenal.
Pure pandemonium. It is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey, I'm a huge fan of Jim Carrey, but he's a nutcase.
Yeah. So is it really him being a nutcase, or do you think it's all staged?
It's not. He's a method actor. He became Andy. Like he invited Andy Kaufman's sister onto the set to rekindle the relationship between Andy Kaufman and his sister.
Wow.
Like he tried to fist fight Jerry the King Lawler when he got out of his car. Okay. Now it could have been staged, but I don't know, because why would they stage it this far away from the movie being released?
True. Yeah, true.
And why would Jim openly admit to being a nutball?
True. True. I mean, you've seen some of his interviews too, where he's like a lot of what he says isn't wrong, but he's definitely sometimes he flies off the handle a little bit.
He does, but honestly, like it might look crazy to us, but the fact is that dude is more in tune with who he is in reality.
Yeah, he's not wrong at all. Like with a lot of what he says, he's spot on.
Nope, but it seems crazy to a lot of people because a lot of people are like, well, he's right, but I don't want to be the guy to say it.
Right, exactly.
Like I love Jim. Did you see that he did he recently returned to the comedy stage?
I did not.
They released a tribute to Bob Saget where a bunch of comedians and shit, John Mayer was there. They all was doing a tribute to him, and Jim Carrey was there, and he was helping host.
That's awesome.
Jeff Ross even said, he's like, it's kind of fucked up that it took Bob Saget dying to get you back on a comedy stage.
Well, it's been a long time. Holy smokes. Like he hadn't done stand-up since like the 80s, had he?
Early 90s. When he got into acting, he kind of quit.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim Carrey, though, 1994, man, he released 3 or 4 movies, and they all won awards.
I think one of his best movies that I think is very underappreciated is The Cable Guy.
That movie's underrated, but I got one better for you.
What's that?
The Number 23.
So good. So good. That movie kept me up that night. That was such a mind, like, that I stayed up that night. It threw me off. He was phenomenal in that movie.
The thing is, though, is every time I bring that movie up, people forget that was Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
He needs to do more movies like that and less comedy. Like I think he deserves, and I know he's very popular, but I think he deserves as much credit as Robin Williams because he's the Robin Williams of this generation.
I agree. I mean, think about how much he's pioneered with like Ace Ventura, back in the day.
Like he was typecasted, but the thing is, he was wrongfully typecast because the number 23 was good. His show Kidding, I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal, bro. It's a TV series that was on Showtime. He plays a children's TV show host whose life is falling apart behind the scenes, and he's trying to keep himself mentally together. Like, wow. Oh my God. Yeah, but anybody listening, if you get a chance and you like Jim Carrey, watch the number 23. It'll change your mind on him as an actor.
Yeah.
The ending, bro.
I know.
Like, oh my.
I stayed up that night. It kept me up.
I watched it again and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Speaking of going back to Robin Williams, did you watch? It was one of his last movies while he was alive called Father of the Year. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
It's very eerie to watch.
Is
now. Robin Williams plays a character whose son likes to choke himself while hanging. While masturbating, I mean. And he ends up killing himself. And Robin Williams walks in on it. But instead of announcing that he killed himself through that, he wrote a fake journal about his son that his son wrote. And he published it and said that his son just got real depressed and killed himself. And wow. I'm like, wait. Like, this was literally a few months before Robin died, I think.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm not saying that's how he actually died. I wasn't there, but like, that's kind of weird how life kind of imitated art.
Right. Interesting.
Damn, bro. Damn. But anyway, I don't want to keep you too long because you probably have a busy day ahead of you. You got music to work on.
Today I've just got a meeting with the distro company and our manager. So,
but anytime you want to come on the show, dude, you're more than welcome. It was a blast talking to you. Hell, I'd like to do a whole episode about serial killers now.
Let's do it. I'll do more. I'll come better prepared. I'll come with some research so I have more to contribute to the conversation.
Oh, you're good, dude. I was thinking doing like a top 10 serial killers list or something.
I would yes. I would gladly be a part of that.
Yeah, like what's his name? There was a guy, not John Wayne Gacy, by the way. There was a guy that was a clown for children's parties, and he would kill the children and feed them to the parents in a meat pie. Like he's like, I give you your sympathy, your kid's missing, here's a meat pie. And they didn't know it was their child. I forget who that was. I think it was a Canadian.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't even heard of that. See, I have some research to do. That's wild. The only one I knew of was John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne was interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw this post the other day. It's nothing to do with anything we're talking about. I just thought it was funny. It showed a picture of Tommy Lee Jones. And it said, don't freak out. It was the other Tommy Lee.
I saw that too, yeah.
I'm like, wow. Wow, bro. But yeah, I'm going to let you go, dude. Go check out the upcoming single. Actually, by the time this airs, because we are pre-recording this, it'll already be out.
Sweet.
So go check out So Far, So Good. Not So Far, So Good, So What? That's a Megadeth album. Check out So Far, So Good from Silent Theory. They're like Theory of a Dead Man, but they're quieter. I'm just kidding.
That's fair.
But that's a funny correlation because Theory of a Dead Man did just change their name to Theory.
And you know what pisses me off about that is we had internally called ourselves Theory for years. And then all of a sudden they're putting it on the posters and stuff. And I was like, well, in fact, I've got Theory tattooed on my arm. And I think people just think I'm a huge Theory of a Dead Man fan now.
Now you got to put silence above it.
I know, somewhere.
Dude, you know what'd be awesome? Put silent in like one of that glow in the dark ink that you can't see.
That would be trippy. That'd be cool.
Like put it under like black light or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
go check it out. And also, we might be hearing the song with Josie Scott soon. So check
I
that
hope
out.
so.
I hope
I'm
so too,
chomping at the
brother.
bit to get that thing released. So
Thank you so much for being a part of this. We
yeah,
would love
thanks
to
for
have
having
you.
me.
We'd love to have you back on.
I'd love to come back anytime.
All right. Much love. And everyone, as always, live long, rock